What are some tips that you can offer for people dealing with the flooding crisis right now?
The thing about dealing with the flooding crisis that we're going through in the Siouxland area right now is to remember that there's more than just the stuff you gotta do. And people have been doing a great job of getting out there, doing what they need to do. People are helping out, you know. Nobody wants a natural disaster to happen, but it's very heartwarming to see how much people are pulling together and helping out and stuff like that. The thing is, all of that takes an emotional toll as it goes on, and especially as, you know, it goes on over time, you know, because this isn't something that's going to be gone in an evening and then, you know, pulled back together the next day. The big thing is, over the time, is there will come times when you don't have anything you need to do right now, and that's when it's time to just sit down and have a good cry. You need to let go emotionally. Yeah, we're all tough Midwesterners from pioneer stock and all of that, but you gotta take care of the other side of things too. Yeah, you gotta do the stuff that needs to be done, but you also gotta take care of yourself, and part of that is letting yourself have the feelings. Over the long term, the thing you worry about with this, the big diagnosis you worry about is that you might get post-traumatic stress disorder. The symptoms of that are things like nightmares about it, intrusive memories popping up in your head about the trauma, the thing that happened, being jumpy, easily startled, staying away from people, being withdrawn, staying away from people who'd be supportive of you, loved ones, things like that. The thing that helps is to let go and feel the feelings rather than try and stuff them. The people who are most at risk for getting post-traumatic stress disorder are actually kind of two groups. One are the people who dissociate, meaning everything seems unreal the whole time it's happening. Those folks are at very high risk. The other group that's at a real high risk are the ones that you would think coped the best and were the heroes, the ones who never had any kind of emotional response, and they're always the strong, silent ones. That actually puts you at more risk to have problems down the road. And so, my bottom line message is there comes a time when there's nothing you have to do right now, and there's people around who love you and are supportive. That's when you should let yourself have the feelings about it.
What can typically happen to somebody? What feelings can they feel after the flooding subsides?
There's two main groups of reactions a person's likely to have after a disaster like this. One is the same steps that you see after the loss of a loved one, the things Elizabeth Kubler-Ross talked about in her landmark old book on death and dying, starting with denial and anger and bargaining and depression and ending with acceptance. And people can have a lot of those same reactions after losses as a result of a natural disaster. And that's all normal things folks go through. The other thing is, I talked about post-traumatic stress disorder and the symptoms of that, the nightmares, the intrusive memories, the withdrawal, or feeling jumpy. Those are also normal responses. It's actually only considered an illness when it fails to get better with time. And that's important to realize. Post-traumatic stress disorder is really a description of the normal reactions a person has to something abnormal that happens to them. So those reactions don't mean something's terribly wrong, but they should be getting better with time.
How long should it take somebody to recover, to feel better? Is there an amount of time that's common?
There's not a magic date. The expectation is things get better with time, the problems are less severe and they come up less often. The really pronounced symptoms with the nightmares and so forth, it's considered, that you have post-traumatic stress disorder if it's still going on a month after it's all ended. The thing is, we already know that this isn't a thing that's going to last more than a month itself. So you're still in that acute phase until it's all ended. it's normal for there to be anniversary reactions, and sometimes people are surprised, something will get to you emotionally a long time later and it's not real clear why. It'll be some very subtle thing, a thing you glance at and see, something you smell can trigger something like that. And it doesn't mean there's something terribly wrong with you that happens. That's normal.
The other day I heard a gentleman describing his move from the dunes. And he said that his wife has tried to remain strong, but at night she's just crying, and he's trying to remain strong for her, but he was tearing up as he was mentioning this. What advice do you have for people that really just don't know what to say to their loved one, their family member? What do they say?
In that story you're describing, he should cry with his wife. What she's doing is the best way to handle it. You do what you gotta do, you be strong during the day, and then when there's nothing you have to do, that's when you let yourself feel bad. And he would benefit from doing that too. And you can both cry. The world won't end. The kids fall into two big groups. There's the kids 6 and under. Those kids don't really have the same kind of concrete understanding, the factual understanding. And kids that age are just keying off of grown-ups. They're going to be anxious if the grown-ups are anxious. And it's normal for kids to act out more in a situation like this. That doesn't mean there's something wrong with the kids. But those kids, the younger kids, have them with adults that are going to take care of them, and the kids will be okay. The older kids, 7 and up, those kids are more fact-oriented. They think logically when you get to that age. And they're going to have a million questions. And to the extent that you can, answer them. Sometimes you're emotionally exhausted and it's hard to answer a lot of silly questions from a little child. And maybe someone else can help you out with that. Someone can give you a little respite, take care of the kids, and Grandma can answer those kind of questions. What it really boils down to is, what's most important? We're safe, we're still together, we'll get by somehow. I mean, on a concrete level, those things are all true and you can tell them that, and that's the bottom line.
What are some signs that somebody might exhibit that would tell their loved one that they probably need to get some help, seek some professional help?
The big things that would be red flags would be if a person doesn't want to live anymore and has a profound sense of helplessness and hopelessness, that there's no point in trying anymore, a sense of giving up, or if, they're feeling like they want to end it all.